I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the country. Pro-life leaders are applauding the recent decision by the U.S. State Department that it would no longer contribute resources to the UN Population Fund, which supports China's one-child policy. In a statement, U.S. Bishops Chairman of Pro-Life Activities, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, said it was a victory for women and children across the globe, as well as for U.S. taxpayers. According to an AP report, the $32.5 million to the U.S. is withdrawing from the UN Population Fund will instead go to the U.S. Agency for International Development for maternal health and non-abortion reproductive health programs and efforts to end practices such as genital mutilation. Cardinal Dolan said under the one-child policy, Chinese families have endured hefty fines, mandatory pregnancy exams, coerced sterilizations, and forced abortions. The one-child policy was in place in China from 1979 to 2015. It was replaced last year by a two-child policy. In news from the Vatican, Pope Francis met this past week with 4 imams from Great Britain who were visiting Rome with Cardinal Vincent Nichols of Westminster. The Pope talked with them about the importance of listening. Rome Reports has more from the Vatican.
Migration, education.
As an outward sign of interreligious dialogue with the Muslim world, Pope Francis held a private audience with Cardinal Vincent Nichols and 4 imams from England. First, Cardinal Nichols greeted the Pope, thanking him for receiving the audience and for supporting the UK, especially after the attack on Westminster Bridge.
We want also to ask for your prayers, and I personally would like to thank you very much for the message that you sent for us.
Pope Francis then said the most important action both parties could take right now is to listen to the other.
What we should do to make the human nature better.
È il lavoro dell'orecchio.
It is the work of the ear, the work of listening.
Ascoltarci.
To listen to one another amongst us.
Ascoltarci. Senza fretta di fare la risposta.
To listen to one another without making any haste to give a response.
Ricevere la parola del fratello, della sorella e pensare poi dare la mia, ma la capacità di ascolto, questo è tanto importante.
To listen to the voice and the words of a brother or a sister and think about it before we give a response. But the most important thing is the capacity to listen.
Afterwards, the Pope greeted the 4 imams and delivered them each a medallion as a sign of peace.
Today we are making a history, and we bring to you the message on behalf, the message of peace, understanding, and cooperation. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
After the traditional photo, Pope Francis said goodbye to them all before leaving.
God bless you. Thank you.
In news now from around the world, Polish Archbishop Henryk Hoser, who was named by Pope Francis to study the pastoral situation and the needs of pilgrims in Medjugorje, held a news conference this past week telling reporters that while he couldn't discuss the authenticity of the alleged apparitions of Mary, it was clear to him that there is a special spiritual climate here. The Archbishop said it was up to the commission established in 2010 by now retired Pope Benedict XVI to determine if the apparitions are true. The Archbishop did say that the biggest miracle in Medjugorje are the confessions of hundreds of people each day. He said evangelization obviously is occurring in the town with packed masses, Eucharistic adoration, reports of hundreds of Catholics who cite an experience in Medjugorje as a key in their vocation journey to the priesthood or religious life. In a statement released 2 weeks after the Archbishop's appointment, the local bishop reaffirmed his belief that nothing supernatural occurred or was occurring in Medjugorje. More news now from around the world. An Iraqi family, part of the Focolare movement, traveled through Europe telling their story of staying behind in their home country to help and heal those in need. They were recently in Rome to visit the Pope and talked with Rome Reports about their experience.
There are 3 types of people who don't flee from a war: those in combat, those who can't leave, and those who stay to help others. This is the case of this family from Iraq, who are all Christians. They had visited Rome, but have already returned to their country. He is a doctor, and his hands have healed every type of war wound, including those from ISIS terrorists. ISIS arrived in 2014. Everyone fled from the plain of Nineveh, but we decided to stay. I am a doctor and my wife is a teacher, and we stayed to serve our people. The most difficult thing is to convince my colleagues to operate on patients from ISIS. They look at them like the enemy, but I tried to convince them that this man is a human being. That's why we have to help them, even if the operation lasts 2 or 3 hours. However, while he helps the wounded and sick from every way of life, his wife does not watch idly. At their home, they house 50 refugees. It's been a little difficult. Instead of cooking for 4, I have to cook for 50. We've given up our bed and have gotten mattresses for the others. We must get up early to buy food for all these people. They came at night and we felt the need to help them, to feed them, and to provide a bed where they can sleep. The family belongs to the Focolare movement, and they passed through Europe to share their testimony. In Rome, they were able to see the Pope and gather a sense of hope to return back to the harsh reality of their country.
And finally in the news, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul is introducing a new effort called Neighborhoods of Hope, which looks to bring people living in poverty together with business leaders, social service providers, government agencies, and faith communities under a new neighborhood-based initiative to find long-term solutions to the challenges of being poor. This new effort represents a change in culture for the Society, which has long focused on one-on-one relationships among volunteers at the parish level with individuals and families in need through home visits. Michael Pazzaglini, Executive Director of the Society's Diocesan Council in Dallas, said the home visits will not end, but Neighborhoods of Hope is being developed as a way to build connections between the people and the Society serves and wider resources with the goal of actually reducing poverty. Well, that's all the information we have for you at this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date with Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.